Hi there, and welcome to our channel. Here we will be posting true crime and mystery videos. While we will be primarily focusing on solved true crime, we will also highlight the occasional unsolved case that needs to be brought back into the spotlight. Thank you so much for clicking on our video. We hope you enjoy it and check back for more. Most of our videos will be solved cases, but we chose an unsolved abduction and murder from our hometown for our very first video. This is the story of Levi Frady. Forsyth County, Georgia in 1997 was still small-town America. We still had the good old boys in charge and a horrifying past that most of us young people knew nothing about. It was a time before cell phones were common, before Ring doorbell cameras, and before dash cams. Most all kids played outside until dark, and you didn't have to check in all the time. Almost everyone knew their neighbor, and no one expected crime to arrive on their doorstep. Bicycles were the main mode of transportation for kids unless you had a dirt bike or an ATV. Kids frequently visited each other after school and on the weekends. We had a local baseball park nearby, and while the area itself was rural, it was still well populated. Levi Frady was 11 years old. He had a twin sister named Lacey, and they both lived with their mother, Marilyn. Levi's parents were divorced, and their father, Milton, was not far away. Levi and Lacey had a normal upbringing surrounded by family. On the day of Levi's disappearance, Levi rode the bus home alone. His sister Lacey had stayed after school for sports or a club meeting. He was home for a short time and called his mother about 4:30 or so to see if he could go visit his friends. Marilyn said yes, but be home by 6:30 p.m. Levi rode his bike to his friend Roman's house. They finished homework and played on the trampoline, and together they rode their bikes to another friend's house. That friend and his family were going out to eat that night and invited both Levi and Roman to go along. Just to explain the next part, in the 90s, it was normal for each child to pay their own way. The infighting family would not typically pay for each child, so if they didn't have the money, they would not go. Roman did not have any money, so he left and headed back to his home, where he did arrive safely. Levi, on the other hand, did have money to eat on, so he called his mother Marilyn to ask permission to go with friend 2. Marilyn was in the bath and could not take the call, so Lacey spoke to Levi and asked Marilyn if Levi could go out to eat. Marilyn said no, that she and Lacey had picked up McDonald's on the way home, so Lacey told Levi he needed to come home. Levi said okay, but told Lacey he did not want to go his usual route. There were dogs on that route that bothered him. I am not sure if they barked and chased him or how they bothered him, but Levi did not like those dogs, and he would rather take the longer, darker path than deal with them. It would be a little darker on the alternate path because there was more tree cover, and it got darker quicker in a heavily forested area. The alternate path was one he had taken previously and was familiar with. Levi was never seen or heard from again. That call with Lacey was the last time his family spoke to him. And no one knows exactly what happened next to Levi Frady. He was last seen on Little Mill Road in North Forsyth County, a well-traveled road that connects highways 306 and 369. Marilyn and Lacey expected Levi home within 15 minutes or so and quickly began to worry. At some point, they decided to drive around and look for him. Marilyn and Lacey took the roads Levi would have taken that night, but they did not see Levi. Lacey saw Levi's bike lying on the side of the road, but it's been well documented that Marilyn did not hear Lacey say she saw the bike, and the 11-year-old did not bring it up again. They drove to friend 2's house, the last place they knew Levi to be, but no one was there. Marilyn and Lacey returned home, and Marilyn fell asleep. When she awoke from her nap at 2 a.m., it's been reported she went out looking for Levi again when she realized he was still not home. The next morning, October 23rd, as Levi's family started gathering at Marilyn's house, Milton Frady, Levi's father, had called the house at 7:02 a.m. to check on the children. I don't think this was a normal occurrence, so it could be assumed that word had gotten around to Milton that Levi did not make it home. On this call, Lacey told her father that Levi was in the shower and did not tell Milton his son was missing. It's not known why Milton wasn't told, but he wasn't. At 7:30 a.m., Marilyn calls the family of friend 2 to see if he was there. He was not, and they had not seen him since the night before. The family decided to return the bike to where his grandfather had found it and report Levi missing. It was 8 a.m. when Marilyn files the missing persons report with Forsyth County Sheriff's Department. At 9:30 a.m., Marilyn calls her live-in boyfriend Tim and tells him Levi is officially missing and asks him to come home. At 10:15 a.m., Marilyn calls Milton, and this time they do tell him that Levi is missing. At 10:30 a.m., the official search for Levi Frady begins. The Forsyth County Sheriff's Office led the search for Levi. His bike was found quickly, around a mile or so from his house, and an officer stood guard over it until the scene could be investigated. Of note, when the bike was found by police, it had been wiped clean of all fingerprints or evidence. At 11:30 a.m., hunters in the Dawson Forest Wildlife Management Area found the body of a young boy. It was 19 miles from Levi's last known location. The hunters reported the body to the police, who immediately made their way to the area where they secured the scene of the crime. The young boy was lying in a pit of rainwater, his upper body submerged, and he had been shot 3 times. It's not clear who the hunters were, but one told his story to the local news, and he stated he saw something that looked like a Halloween decoration or a mannequin. When they realized it was not a mannequin, that is when the hunters made their way out of the forest and contacted the Dawson County Sheriff's Department to report what they had found. At 2 p.m., the search was suspended pending identification of the body found 300 yards from the Etowah River. At 2:30 p.m., the body is identified as Levi Frady. Less than 3.5 hours since the search began, it was over. Levi had been found. No one has ever been arrested, and no one has ever been named a suspect in this case. It is not believed his parents had any involvement in his disappearance, and both Levi's father Milton and Marilyn's live-in boyfriend Tim were both cleared of any involvement in Levi's disappearance pretty early in the investigation. Some key frustrations for the family is that none of the police agencies would work together. There was infighting and everyone wanted jurisdiction. The Forsyth County Sheriff thought that the abduction had occurred in his county and therefore thought he should be primary on this investigation. The Dawson County Sheriff thought since Levi was found in his county and it's believed to be where the murder occurred, he should be primary on the investigation. The police did not have much to work with. There were no witnesses who came forward to the actual abduction, but they did find 2 individuals who saw suspicious people in 2 different areas. Those witnesses did work with police sketch artists and were able to provide enough information to create the 2 artist renderings that were released to the public. The first suspicious person was seen on Little Mill Road. He was a disheveled and scraggly-looking individual who was walking on the side of the road the same night Levi disappeared. The person who saw him and described him to police was not local to the area and was lost. The second suspicious person was seen by a hunter who saw a man in a blue pickup truck with a white camper shell who looked out of place in Dawson Forest. It is not clear when this person was seen, but he is the individual in the second police sketch. That afternoon, after Levi was found, the Forsyth County Sheriff, Denny Hendricks, and Lieutenant Bill Miller attempted to visit the crime scene, but it has been reported they were turned away by the Assistant District Attorney for Dawson County, Jessica Moss. It is unclear why she denied them access, but it's safe to assume it's due to infighting and who would ultimately have jurisdiction. That is a good example of how well the police departments work together on this case. So even with the potential of the combined investigative powers and resources, they never did work together and never developed any leads to find Levi's killer. And within 2 years, the case had gone cold. In the spring of 2000, the Frady family submitted a petition with over 2,000 signatures on it to Forsyth County Sheriff Denny Hendricks, asking his office to take a more active role in the investigation. Levi's family wanted this case to be back in the public eye and felt they could depend on Sheriff Hendricks. But Dawson County had jurisdiction, and still does to this day since Levi was found inside Dawson Forest. Sheriff Hendricks' efforts to move this case forward were not received warmly by Dawson County and even the GBI. The GBI said Hendricks had about as much jurisdiction in Levi's case as he did in John Benet Ramsey's case, and that a task force would give the impression that the investigation is fragmented and disorganized, and Hendricks simply has no jurisdiction. Ultimately, Carlisle declined to join the task force to avoid a duplication of services, stating he saw no point in pulling officers investigating the case in Dawson County to send them to Forsyth County. Basically, the three agencies continued to argue and accuse each other of dirty politics. In October of 2000, Forsyth County Sheriff Denny Hendricks writes to the Frady family to say Dawson County and the GBI would not join the task force and would not work with them. And on January 21st, 2001, the Forsyth County News reported that the joint task force no longer exists. According to LeviFrady.com, years later, while investigating a stabbing, a suspect claimed to have some knowledge of the Levi Frady murder weapon. Tommy Albert Samples had stabbed Marshall Danny Talent, and during the interrogation, he implied he knew what gun was used to shoot the young boy. Samples was involved in a long-term, often violent relationship with Talent. Both men had long histories of domestic violence and drug use. Samples stabbed Talent 2 different times, once in '97 and again in 2013. During the 2013 videotaped interrogation, Samples stated that Talent stabbed him with a long gun, the same one they shot Levi Frady with. Police did not question Samples about the location of the gun, but did ask some general questions about Levi's murder. Samples denied any involvement. He did, however, implicate Talent as a possible murder suspect in Levi's death, but nothing ever came of it. Forsyth County Sheriff's Office did not request a search warrant to find the gun.
You're saying shot. What would he have shot you with?
Shot or stabbed? I don't know. Oh, God, it's the same one they shot, but they got Frady with.
And that, unfortunately, is the end. There is no resolution. There are no suspects, and it remains cold and unsolved today. The only rainbow to be found in the whole story is that Levi's call, Georgia's version of the Amber Alert, was named in honor of Levi Frady. In more than 15 years, 187 Levi's calls have been issued for children from Georgia and surrounding states. Of those, 180 children were found safe. We will leave all the links to the tip lines in the description. If you or anyone you know has any information, please call. Please tell someone. This family deserves resolution. And if you have made it this far, thank you. And if you enjoyed the content, please consider liking our video and subscribing to our channel. We will be uploading more videos soon and plan to upload every 2 weeks. We will focus mainly on solved true crime cases and stories, and we hope you will join us for our next video. And if you have any case suggestions, please leave that in the comments below. We look forward to hearing from you. Bye!